Good afternoon. Good afternoon. We'll get started in just a couple of seconds. Good afternoon and welcome to the Illinois Tollways Diversity Webinar Series. My name is Gardenia Rangel, Program Coordinator for the Department of Diversity and Strategic Development. If this is your first Illinois Tollways sponsored webinar, welcome. If you've attended in the past, welcome back. The Illinois Tollways DBE program is recognized nationally as a leader in removing barriers and creating additional access to economic opportunities for historically underrepresented companies and people. After more than a decade of commitment to leveling the playing field in construction, professional services, goods and services, and workforce development, and more than $2.7 billion committed to disadvantaged firms, we can confidently say that more small, diverse, women, and veteran-owned businesses and firms and people are doing business with the Tollway than ever before. In 2020, the Tollway created a webinar series to stay in touch with the DBE and small business community during the pandemic. Since then, more than 5,000 people have learned how to do business with the Tollway, get certified with the state, or prepare a better statement of interest submittal. At any time, you can access our webinars on the Tollway's website. There you will discover our library of more than 100 webinars presented over the past several years. And while things have changed since 2020, the goal of the Diversity Webinar Series remains the same, to present you with various topics that will help you be a successful business and pursue Tollway work. Now, before we get started with today's topic, let's go over a few housekeeping rules to help ensure an enjoyable experience for you and also for our guest attendees. All attendees will be muted. If you have a question for our presenter today, information on where to call for one-on-one support will be shared throughout the presentation. We will also allot a short presentation time towards the end for a Q&A session where some of your questions will be addressed in the remaining time. If you missed something or want to review the presentation, these webinars are recorded and they will be posted on the Illinois Tollways Diversity webpage. At the conclusion of the event, I will provide information on how to access our presentations and interact with the Tollway in real time on social media. Without further delay, I would like to introduce today's webinar topic, Navigating Bid Buy, an aid in doing business with the state. Today's presenter is the State of Illinois Chief Procurement Office for General Services, and joining us today is Nancy Weichert.
All right, hello everyone. I'm going to share my screen and get started here. Okay, all right, so welcome and good afternoon to the Chief Procurement Office for General Services session on bid buy. So, how are vendors notified of procurement opportunities? Vendors are notified of procurement opportunities through bid buy, the State of Illinois CPOGS e-procurement system. All procurements under the CPOGS portfolio are published through bid buy. It's free to register, and once registered, vendors can receive notifications of procurement opportunities and submit bids, offers, or quotes electronically. NIGP codes classify services and commodities which the state then uses to classify their purchases. They are 5-digit codes that consist of a class and item portion. When there is a need that falls under an NIGP code that you indicated on your registration, you will receive a notification via email. You can then access the request and decide if you would like to participate or not. You can also search for open solicitations on our bidding site BidBuy. The more NIGP codes you register for, the broader a net you throw. I recommend registering for as many NIGP codes that are relevant to your business. You can always edit your registration to remove codes later if you feel you are getting notifications that don't apply to your business. This is the BidBuy home screen. On the home screen, I'd like to highlight the supplier registration and sign-in in the upper right-hand corner. This is where you'll get started. And as you scroll down the screen, I'd like to highlight the help desk information. Our help desk is great. They answer the phone and they are ready to help you with any questions that you have throughout your process with utilizing BidBuy. We're going to click on the advanced search for expanded searching capabilities. Anyone can look at BidBuy as it's open to the public. No account is necessary to just view. The ability to review what is published on BidBuy is to ensure transparency, and we're going to take a look at purchase orders. So when we click on advanced search, we can then click in the document type drop down and look at POs. We can look at these POs to see what has been purchased by the state historically. This can be a useful tool to see what the state has previously needed and what the cost was. Once you've selected purchase order, you will be presented with several filter options. You can input a description, select a specific organization, which means agency, or a type code. Type code will be in reference to the procurement method used. I'm going to use the NIGP code search option for the demo, but I'll show you how to look up NIGP codes later. I know this NIGP code I want to look at is 918, which is consulting services, and the item is 96, which is transportation consulting. So here's a list of purchase orders by that NIGP code 918-96. And here you can see these historical purchase orders, the cost. If you click in on the PO number, that column on the left-hand side, that's a hyperlink, and you can look at more details about the procurement purchase order if you do choose to click in. So we were just looking at purchase orders, which means that they had already entered into the contract. So now let's look at bid solicitations from the advanced search interface. So if you receive an email through BidBuy via the NIGP code system, you'll see the BidBuy bid number B followed by 5 numeric digits. You can enter the last 5 digits in the bid solicitation number field. You will get emails for the code you selected through your seller administration account. You can add or remove codes through the seller administration account, which we'll discuss in a little more depth later on in this presentation. In this example, we'll select invitation for bid type code. Invitations for bid, which are IFBs, are awarded to the lowest cost, responsive, and responsible bidder. We're going to look at a list of some somewhat current IFB solicitations. You can sort this list by clicking on the arrows or download it into Excel to sort and filter as you choose. Here you'll see these are just a list of current bid solicitations that are out there. We did take this screenshot a few days ago in creating the training, but you can see those. All right, so this is an old example from 2024, and this is for demonstration purposes only. Here now we're looking at bid B45220 RR-24-4968 Reagan Memorial Tollway I-88 Bridge Rehabilitation over Union Pacific Railroad. Though you should review all of the fields, I've highlighted a few fields that I feel are most important. So we're looking at the bid opening date. This is important because late bids are not accepted and technical issues on your end will not be considered. Also want to highlight the info contact. This is who you will contact if you have questions about the solicitation. The pre-bid conference, you need to make sure to determine whether or not the pre-bid conference, if there is one, is mandatory or non-mandatory. In this case, you can see that the bid pre-conference is optional, and it gives information about how to attend the pre-bid conference. This one is on Teams. Sometimes they are in person. The bulletin description, this just gives you some a little bit more details about the solicitation. And then the type code, as we mentioned, is IFB, which lets you know that it's based on, award is based on lowest cost, responsive or responsible bidder. And then you always need to make sure to look at and go through all of the file attachments for more details about the solicitation. Additionally, we have the required quote attachments. These are going to be the documents that you are required to attach to your bid in order to be considered for award. And then there are the items. Make sure to pay attention to the line items, and if it's specific to a location or region, you'll need to make sure you can meet that specific location or regional need. Many of our solicitations have multiple pages of line items, so make sure to scroll through or click through the pages so that you can make sure that you are seeing all of the items listed. Now I'm going to log into my vendor account in our training environment. Within BidBuy, there are two types of registered vendor roles, the seller role and the seller administrator role. A seller can search, view, and respond to bid opportunities, search and view active state contracts, and view purchase orders. In addition to all of the rights of the seller administrator can maintain their business's information, user profiles, and can invite associated organizations to register in BidBuy. When the account is initially created, the person identified as the administrator will be designated as the seller administrator. This can be changed at any time, and there can be multiple seller administrators on a single account, though there must always be at least one. To access these commands, select the Seller Administrator tab in the upper right corner. Seller administrators have the ability to select NIGP codes and create accounts. You will find this from the little person icon that you can see in that upper right-hand corner of the page. We're going to look at BidBuy through the Seller Administrator interface. We'll start with Maintain Users. This is where you can see your users, add users, assign their roles, etc. When you select Add User, you can add the user and assign their roles. Now we'll look at Maintain Organization. And then we'll select the Maintain Commodity Codes and Services section. And then we'll click on Commodity Codes to add or remove NIGP codes. These are the current NIGP commodity codes that my business is registered in. You can scroll to the bottom of this page to deactivate or add additional codes. You may need to deactivate codes if you're being notified about procurements that are unrelated to your supplies or services. For this demonstration, we're going to click on Add Additional Codes. Here you can search by specific NIGP class and class item codes, NIGP keyword, or you can use the NIGP code browse option. For our purposes, we're going to use the NIGP keyword search for transportation. It's important to note that less is more when you're utilizing keywords. For instance, searching for dock will get you different results than searching for the plural form of the word docks. You may need to play around a bit with your keywords in order to get the best results. Here you will see that there are 170 results for the keyword transportation. To add these, you can select the certain codes that you want to add by checking the box next to those codes, or select all from the page by selecting the box next to the word code at the top of the list. You will need to scroll down to the bottom of the page to save and add more. It's important to note that you will have to go through each page of the results list to continue adding codes. Now let's look at this from the seller interface. This is the landing page. I'll review each heading. So we have the News tab, and this is used for system announcements, for instance, downtime or any other announcements that the Chief Procurement Office for General Services wants to communicate with the vendor community. The Vendor Communication tab gives us information about small purchases estimated under $20,000. The Bids tab is for more formal solicitations like IFBs and RFPs. Then there's the PO tab, which just lists any purchase orders that you have. And the Quotes tab is more of an informal procurement with smaller estimated dollar amount, under $100,000. You will be able to find opportunities to submit pricing in both the Bids and the Quotes tab. We don't use the Vendor Performance tab. Once I click on the bids tab, I'll see a screen with the opportunities, and those are under the open bids section. Here I've highlighted an open bid, and it's nice to note that the bid number in that left column, that's a hyperlink. You'll click into that if you want more details, and then you'll see that the bid opening date information is listed. Of course, that is very important as late bids are not accepted. And if I want to view the bid Q&A, you can select view, but in order to create a quote, you will need to select create quote from that far right column. So I've clicked into this and I can see how many days, hours, and minutes before the opening date. So this one is 48 days, 21 hours, and 57 minutes away. Again, you must submit before the bid opening date. Make sure to submit well before the opening time. Late bids are not accepted and technical issues on your side will not be considered. Make sure to go through each of the file attachments. You might find, for instance, vendor Q&A, where other vendors have asked questions and the state has responded with clarifying answers. It's important for you to review these so that you are not missing out on any pertinent information. You'll have to acknowledge any amendments. For instance, there might be a Q&A. There might be an extension of the bid opening date, or we might make changes to the solicitation document. You'll need to acknowledge these amendments before you'll be allowed to create a quote. Now, once we have acknowledged the amendments, you can see that create a quote option. You'll review all the details and then select Save and Continue. Make sure to click on Save and Continue after every action on every page. The data you input will not be entered if you fail to hit Save and Continue. Validation errors will appear, but don't worry, those will be resolved as we move through the process of creating the quote. The Items tab you'll see here has 3 items to respond to. The default is no bid, which means if selected that you will not be submitting for this procurement. But if the line item is such that you don't charge for it, for instance, a warranty, you can select no charge. So make sure to select no charge and then note the reason for no charge. This is how you will enter your pricing. Here you'll see that we have our pricing of $65 for the initial term, $100 for supplies for the initial term, and $70 rate for the renewal term. Once you do that, make sure to hit Save and Continue. You will see also that that extended amount is calculated in the sort of right-hand side extended amount column. Questions, subcontractors, and notes tabs are not used by the state, so you'll skip past those to the terms and conditions. You will need to review the state's terms and conditions. The standard terms and conditions are linked in the invitation for bid, vendor instructions and requirements, or RFP offer to the state. If accept in whole, select yes. We believe this to be the best choice. If partial, need to select yes with conditions and note those conditions. If you're taking any exceptions to the standard terms and conditions, you must submit a red line version of the standard terms and conditions with your bid, and then select Save and Continue once you make your choice. The Attachments tab includes the required attachments that must be responded to. These are required by you to upload. Mark each document that you attach as confidential so that only the internal state agencies can view. You don't want to have any of your personal identifying information out there for the public to view. You can attach additional files as you need for your response, but just please make sure to label any of these documents clearly so that we know what we are looking at. Again, give yourself plenty of time to create the quote and attach all documents. If you have network issues and miss the deadline for the bid, your bid will not be accepted, as no late bids are accepted. And large files can take a considerable amount of time to upload, and files larger than 25 megabytes may cause issues. In order to create the attachment, you'll need to click Choose File and attach the corresponding document. In this example, we're going to need to attach the signed contract. Here you'll see that all of the required attachments have been attached and marked confidential. Make sure to hit Save and Continue before proceeding to the next tab, which is the Summary tab, so that that confidential option that you selected will be registered. This is the Summary tab. Make sure to review all of the information that you've submitted for accuracy as you scroll to the bottom of this page. Here you'll see the option to either submit or cancel your quote. Once you hit submit, you'll get a pop-up to confirm that you want to submit the quote. Click OK to submit the quote. You will be notified of an award through the system once the bid opening date has occurred. It's important to note that prior to the bid opening time, you can view your quote by going to the Bid tab and selecting your quote. If you decide that you need to change your quote, you will need to create a new quote and withdraw your original quote. It is vitally important to withdraw any quotes you don't want to be considered for award. Once you click the quote number, you will be directed to that quote. You'll click on the summary page, and at the bottom of that page, you'll see that option to withdraw the quote prior to the bid due date and time if necessary. We'd like to highlight the Bid by Vendor Help Desk. Please contact them for live assistance. Our team is truly amazing and absolutely able to assist you. The CPOGS offers vendor training known as the Tuesday Afternoon Procurement Series, or TAPS, and it is held the third Tuesday of each month at 2 p.m. So far, we've covered financial disclosures, IPG, procurement methods, bid buy, invitation for bid, and request for proposal, and each month we'll introduce a new topic. All sessions are recorded and can be found on our website in the Vendor Resources section. Thank you again for taking the time in your day to be here with us. We were delighted to spend this time with you, and make sure to keep up to date on the CPOGS website, which also contains lots of information for vendors. Some resources that are intended for vendors include the I Am a Vendor section, vendor resources, commitment to diversity, and small business set-aside program. Those are all on our website. And don't forget to register with IPG and find solicitation opportunities on BidBuy. And I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing my screen, hand things back over to Gardenia.
Thank you. And I will be sharing my final slides. Thank you so much once again for the comprehensive and detailed presentation today. We're going to open up the Q&A session. If you have any questions for our guest presenter or for the Tollway staff, please make sure to enter them into the chat box, and we'll try to get to a few questions in the remaining time. So I'm going to go ahead and check to see if we have any questions in the chat. And I do apologize. My computer is on a lag. Okay, so the first question that I see that was submitted is, I'm a small business. Do I just need to register in Bid Buy?
So for small businesses in the state of Illinois to do business with us and be a part of the small business set aside program, you will need to first make sure to register with the Illinois Procurement Gateway. We have presented on this with the Tollway. We also have videos on our website about doing this, and the IPG staff is very helpful. But you'll need to make sure to first register with IPG so that you can be, if you qualify, you can be a part of the actual small business set aside program, which is a program that shelters smaller businesses, kind of gives them a leg up on some specific solicitations. And then you'll then want to also register in BidBuy. So both things.
Thank you for that. We have another question that came in. How can I view my current NIPG codes?
Yeah, so you'll need to go into BidBuy into your seller administrator account and then select the maintain organization, and then you'll find your commodity codes there. In the presentation that we just did today, that was sort of spelled out, so that information will be on there when the tollway does post this. And then additionally, we do have videos on the vendor resources page of the Chief Procurement Office for General Services website. We have one specifically about bid buy where that is also discussed.
Okay, thank you. I do see another question that came in. It says, does every bid have documents required to upload?
I would say yes, it's difficult for me to know about every bid, but there'll be something that you'll need to upload at some point. I can't imagine one where we don't have something that you would need to upload at some point in the process.
Okay, and I did see another question come in. Does my company have to pay to submit bids in BidBuy?
No, it's absolutely free to both register for bid buy and submit any bids.
Okay, so we're going to go ahead and continue on with the presentation. For more information on today's webinar, as well as the programs and initiatives administered by the Tollways Diversity Department, please make sure to visit the Doing Business section in the Tollways homepage at the illinoistollway.com webpage. There you will find the latest information, including a calendar of events, links to prior presentations, and view the upcoming bid letting schedule for construction and professional services contracts. And if you're not already signed up to receive alerts for bid opportunities, networking events, please send an email to my colleague Lorena Perez at lperez@getipass.com. The Tollway is also active in social media from LinkedIn to YouTube, so please make sure to check us out, smash that like button, and subscribe to our channels. And thank you so much. This concludes today's webinar. We appreciate your support and look forward to having all of you at our following webinar. Thanks again, and we'll see everyone very, very soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.